So in the previous lecture, we studied the dynamics of first order systems. We learned about bifurcation in first order systems and how drastically the fate or the future of the system can change as the parameters in the governing equations change their magnitude from positive to negative. Today we'll look into the dynamics of higher order systems. So dynamics of higher order systems. Okay, so the way we define the order of a system is that it is equal to the number of first order ordinary differential equations which govern the dynamics of the system. Okay, so therefore in higher order systems you will have n number of first order ordinary differential equations in a system which is of nth order, or alternatively, if the governing equation itself is an nth order ordinary differential equation, then you can convert that nth order ordinary differential equation to n number of first order ordinary differential equations. Okay, so for our first order system, we took the example of dx by dt equals ax, just as an example. Okay, and what we found was that x was the dynamical variable and a was a parameter in the system, parameter present in the system, right? So now if I have an nth order system, nth order system, then the governing equations will become dx1 by dt equals a11 x1 plus a12 x2 up to plus a1n xn dx2 by dt equals a21 x1 plus a22 x2 up to a2n xn, and this will go up to xn. So this will become dxn by dt equals a n1 x1 plus a n2 x2 up to plus a n n xn, right? And this set of equations can be written alternatively as a matrix equation. So we'll write the dynamical equation as a matrix equation. And how would it look like? It would look something like this: d by dt of x1 x2 up to xn is equal to the coefficient matrix a11 a12 up to a1n a21 a22 up to a2n all the way up to an1 an2 up to ann, again multiplied by the vector x1 x2 up to xn, right? So what is my dynamical variable now? Dynamical variable in the previous case you just had one variable, and that was x. X was your dynamical variable, as you can see here, right? In the present case, for an nth order system, your dynamical variable is a vector, and that vector is x1, x2, xn transpose. This is the dynamical variable. And in the previous case, what you saw was that you drew a face portrait, and the way the face portrait looked like in the previous case was something like this. So you had a greater than 0, you had the solutions blowing up. For a less than 0, you had solutions converging to 0. So this is x, this is t, this is x, this is t, and finally you draw the final portion of your face portrait like this, where this is your equilibrium solution. In this case, you have a source solution, and this is your equilibrium solution. In this case, you have a sink solution, right? So to analyze the first order dynamics, you focused on A, right? You focused on A, and the value of A gave you all the information about the dynamics or the fate of the system. For an nth order system where you have a coefficient matrix Aij, the dynamics of the system, whether it would be a source type behavior or a sink type behavior, or in fact the third one which will come later, that will depend upon the matrix. That will depend upon the that will depend upon the n by n matrix, which is the coefficient matrix. Now, if you have a square matrix, what is that particular quantity of a matrix which will help me get an idea about the behavior of the system? And the answer to that question is very simple. The quantity which will give me this idea will be the eigenvalues of the matrix. And if we look at this particular equation, dx by dt equals ax, then what you find is that a is the eigenvalue eigenvalue of the differential operator d by dx with x as the eigen function. Okay, so if x is the eigen function, then a is the eigenvalue of the differential operator. And what you are doing is you are basically analyzing A, whether the magnitude of A is greater than 0 or less than 0, and the behavior or the fate of your system is changing drastically as you change the sign of the eigenvalue. Similarly, for an nth order dynamical system, what you will do is you will determine the eigenvalues of this n by n matrix, and depending upon the sign of these eigenvalues, you can say whether the system will converge to a specific value or it will diverge away from a specific value as t tends to infinity. So we will analyze this in detail today. Okay, so our first question that remains is that what is the solution to the system of equations, d by dt of x underscore equals a double underscore x underscore. If we have forgotten or if we do not remember the notation, single underscore means a vector and double underscore means a matrix, right? So you have a dynamical variable x underscore and you have the coefficient matrix a double underscore. And what is the solution to this system of equation, which is an eigenvalue problem? This is an eigenvalue problem. So we have already proved this in our previous course on mathematical techniques. I'm giving you the final result. The students of instrumentation are encouraged to substitute the solution to the original equation to see that this is indeed the solution. So if lambda I are the eigen values of A with corresponding eigen vectors as Vi under bars, then the solution is given as x bar equals, I hope at least some of you remember, I equals 1 to capital N Ci e to the power lambda I t times the eigenvector. Okay, this is the solution to the system of equations, right? And how would you prove this? Just take this, differentiate it with respect to t. You will regain the right hand side here. You will regain the right hand side, which is here. Okay, so this is the solution. And now what we will do is we will take examples and obviously for the ease of visualization in the class, we will take the example of a two-dimensional or a second order system. We will take the example from a second order system, and the physical example that we will take today will be a third order system. Okay, so we'll do both of this thing today. So let us consider a second order system. So consider a second order system given by dx1 by dt equals a11 a12 a11 x1 plus a12 x2 and dx2 by dt equals a21 x1 plus a22 x2, right? So our dynamical variable is x1 x2 transpose the vector. Okay, and therefore I can write this set of equations as d by dt of x1 x2 equals a11 a12 a21 a22 times x1 x2. And now I need to focus on the eigen values of a1 a2 a11 a12 a21 a22. Okay, so it is required to analyze the eigenvalues of A, eigenvalues of A, right? So I'll take a number of cases for which you will get different behavior for each of the case. Okay, you will get a different behavior for each of the case. So case 1, let's take the first case, case 1, where your A is of the form A 0 B. Okay, so let me make it very clear. If you come across a dynamical system which can be cast as this particular second order set of two first order ordinary differential equations, or this particular matrix equation where you have the matrix of the vector of dimension 2, and if your matrix is of the form A00B, then what are the eigenvalues? I have lambda 1 which is equal to A, and I have lambda 2 which is equal to B. These are the two eigenvalues of the system. And what are the corresponding eigenvectors? Well, I'm writing the eigenvectors directly. I expect you to know how to determine eigenvectors. It's very trivial, and especially in this case, the eigenvectors would be v1 equals 1 0 and v2 would be equal to 0 1. Okay, there is a reason why we are taking this particular or this specific case. Okay, the reason will be apparent very soon. So now you have the two eigenvalues of the system as A and B and corresponding eigenvectors as 1 0 and 0 1. So therefore I will have x1 x2 equals c1 times one of you have your mics on, so make sure that it's off. So c1 times e to the power, it would be lambda 1, or which is a times t times 1 0 plus c2 e to the power bt times 0 1, right? This is the solution. So x1 x2 is given by this simple expression. Now I want to know the behavior, or I want to draw the phase portrait of this particular system. Okay, so I need to develop the phase portrait. Let's see. Before I develop the phase portrait, let me make an observation. C1 and C2 are multiplicative constants. So when C2 is equal to 0, when C2 is equal to 0 and at time t equals 0, at time t equals 0, I can write x1 x2 transpose is simply equal to 1 0, right? C2 is equal to 0, and initially at time t is equal to 0, e to the power at becomes 1. So 1 0 is a solution, right? Similarly, when C1 is equal to 0 and
Sir, it
yes,
will be C0 transpose, no? C10 transpose, sorry.
C1 0 transpose.
Sir, because
Yes,
A,
C C is just a
A,
C is a multiplicative constant. C is a scalar. It's not a vector. The only vector which appears here is the eigenvector. Okay, so C
okay.
is a number and C1 is a number, C2 also is a number. Okay, so and time t equals to 0
Sir,
at
so sir,
huh,
in
yes,
the first solution, there must be a C1, right? Like C2 is equals to 0, but there must be the C1. C1 into the matrix, one,
so
like.
let me do one. So let me c1 is equal to 1. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So when c2 is equal to 0, c1 is equal to 1 and time t is equal to 0, this is a solution. So good, that was a good point. And here x2 transpose will become equal to 0, 1 transpose, and here c2 is equal to 1, right? So so I now have a initial idea about where the system would be. So let me do one thing. Uh, so let me start here and draw the coordinates. Draw the coordinates. Here is x2, here is x1. Remember, I'm not drawing it with respect to time. I'm drawing the phase portrait with reference to x2, x1 because my dynamical variables include x2 and x1. So now from this equation, 1, 0 is a solution, 0, 1 is a solution, right? So let me highlight the solutions here. So 1, 0 is a solution, 0, 1 is a solution. Is 0, 0 a solution? Well, yes, 0 is always a solution. That's a trivial solution, right? For any of these cases, for every single eigenvalue problem of this type which is shown here, 0 vector is always a solution. So you will always have the solution as 0, 0, 0 and so on. So now my point is I have 3 points, and here I made a mention that C1 is equal to 1, right? When C1 is half, my solution will become 0.50. When C1 is equal to 2, my solution will become 20 and so on, right? And that's the point of eigenvector anyway, that eigenvector gives you a direction. So therefore, this entire line will be a solution. This entire line is the solution. Similarly, this entire line is a solution, right? This entire line which is x2 is equal to 0 and this entire line which is x1 is equal to 0 is the solution. Now the point is that what is the significance of C1, C2, right? See, in first case I kept C2 0 all the time. In second case I kept C1 0 all the time. But when I do not keep C1 and C2 as 0, what will happen is I will come out of these two lines. I will come here and I will come here in one of the four coordinates, right? So now what I need to do is I need to find out how do the solutions converge or diverge away from the equilibrium solution, right? So in our first order, we will keep on comparing ourselves with the first order solution. In the first order solution, you made this point, right? And this point was nothing but the equilibrium solution. This was obtained by setting dx by dt is equal to 0. So that was our equilibrium solution. So let me write this here as, equilibrium solution, which comes from dx by dt equals ax equals to 0, which means x is equal to 0, right? So now how will you obtain the equilibrium solution to this system? Well, you will obtain the equilibrium solution to this system by setting this is equal to 0 will be the equilibrium solution. Okay. So again, those who are familiar with our lexicon of linear algebra, let me write down and you find out whether you understand this. equilibrium solutions lie in the null space of A, which means you need to solve Ax equal to 0, and everything which satisfies this is a equilibrium solution, right? Equilibrium solutions lie in the null space. Null space is the space of all the solutions which will give you a 0 vector. Okay, so those who kept on thinking and also kept on writing in the feedback that what is the physical significance and this that in the previous course, they will realize that everywhere now we'll be using the concepts which we developed in the previous course. Okay, so now what is the equilibrium solution? So the equilibrium solution will be here. You are solving A00 B x1 x2 equal to 0, which means x1 is equal to 0 and x2 is equal to 0, right? Which means 0 0 transpose is the equilibrium solution. Okay, so in this phase portrait, my 0 0 point is the equilibrium solution, which means as t tends to infinity, the solutions will come to this point, or as t tends to infinity, the solutions will diverge away from this point, right? As t tends to infinity, the solutions converge to the equilibrium point or they diverge away from the equilibrium point as t tends to infinity, as we saw in the case of first order systems. Fine. So now we will take the case where, see, our solution was x1 x2 equals c1 e to the power at 10 plus c2 e to the power bt 10, right? So now case 1. When you have a which is greater than 0 and b less than 0, one of the eigenvalues is positive, whereas the other eigenvalue is negative, right? So since a greater than 0 is a positive eigenvalue, this term will blow up, right? And b is less than 0, so e to the power bt, which is negative, exponential of negative, this will decay. This will decay, right? So b less than 0 corresponds to this axis, right? And this axis is an axis where the solutions will decay to 0, and therefore this axis is called the stable solutions or the stable axis. So solutions will converge to this axis. Now a is greater than 0, which means the corresponding eigenvector is 1 0. So this axis is the unstable axis. This axis is the unstable axis. So solutions will diverge away from 0 0 as time increases. Right? So let me repeat. My solutions are C1 into e to the power at times 1 0, which means this axis, which means the x1 axis, and a is greater than 0. So therefore the solutions will blow up, and therefore as t tends to infinity, you will go in this direction and the magnitude will go on increasing. And conversely, b is less than 0. So the other axis is the convergent axis or the stable axis. Now, if you make a linear combination of the first term and second term by taking different values of C1 and C2, what's going to happen? What's going to happen is you will get curves which would be like this. right? So for example, if you are here, this means that you have larger value of C1, smaller value of C2. If you are here, this means you have larger value of C2, you have smaller value of C1, and so on. So you can take different values of C1, C2, and you will get all of these curves which will correspond to the solution. Now, what will be the direction? Well, the direction can be drawn very easily. This will be the direction, 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 and so on. Okay. So as time t tends to infinity, the solutions, everything is a solution. Every point here on the curve is going to be a solution. Every point, doesn't matter which point you take, that's going to be a solution. But then if you start with that point, the whole point is that how would the dynamics of the system proceed? If you start from that point and move forward in time, then you are going to get ultimately zero value for x2 and infinite value of x1 and so on. You can do the similar analysis for all the parameters. Now you see what is the nature of this solution. This solution is called saddle solution. Why is this solution called a saddle solution? Because you see here, you in one direction you come towards the solution and in the other direction you go away from the solution. So this is how typically a saddle looks like. In along one axis you go down, along the other axis you go up. That is the typical nature of a saddle, and therefore the solution is called the saddle solution. So whenever you have a solution, whenever you have an equation where the eigenvalues look like this, A00B, then your phase portrait, so this is the phase portrait, would look like this. If A is greater than 0 and B is less than 0. Now I leave it this up as an exercise for you to find out how it would happen when A is less than 0 and B is greater than 0. What will happen? Simply the directions will change. All of the directions will reverse. I encourage you to find the logic behind that in the exact same manner we did now. Okay, so the x2 axis will become the unstable axis and x1 axis will become the stable axis. Okay, fine. This, so what is the message that we get? The message that we get from here is that when your eigenvalues are either positive or negative, the system evolves monotonically either to 0 0 or infinity. But since one of the eigenvalues is positive, eventually the system is going to blow up to infinity, right? So now how to make a stable system? So let me make a stable system where I have case 2, where A is less than 0 and B also is less than 0. Okay, both the eigenvalues are less than 0. So let me make the phase portrait. How would it look like? You'll be able to see that this is the axis. The eigenvalues will not affect your solutions, your equilibrium solutions, and so on. So therefore, what I'm going to have is something like this. A solution. This axis is going to be a solution axis. This axis is going to be a solution axis. Okay, this axis also is going to be a solution axis. So this is x1, sorry, this is x2, this is x1. Now both A is less than 0 and B is less than 0, which means in case of the solutions like C1 e to the power at 10 plus C2 e to the power bt 01, What's going to happen? This solution 0, 0 is going to be a stable solution. So this axis is converging. This axis is also converging. This axis is converging. This axis is also converging. So every solution is going to eventually come to 0, 0. Right now, what will happen? What will happen when you have uh, when you are in one of these quadrants? Okay, so there are two possibilities. One possibility is like this. So let me draw the arrows. The arrows would look like this: coming in, 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 coming in. Right? Everything. So what does this mean? This means that if you have the matrix of the form 1, 0, 0, sorry, 0, A 0, 0, B, where A is less than 0, B is less than 0, you are sure that your system is going to be stable, and eventually everything will settle to a solution which is the equilibrium solution. Okay, but then there is a problem. There is another problem. The another possibility exists. The other possibility is this. So let me extend this. The other possibility is that I can draw with the same constraint. I can draw something like this. So this is converging, this is converging, this is also converging, this is also converging. So let me draw something like this. The curves are not very elegant, so excuse me for that. It's difficult to draw. So now I can draw this also, right? In this case also everything is converging to this point 0, 0. So now the question is, which one is the correct solution? Which one is the correct phase portrait? The upper one or the down one? To know that, what you need to do is this. You know that your system of equations, your solution, if you solve this explicitly, what you are going to get is dx by dt equals ax, sorry, x1 equals x10 e to the power at. So you need to solve this explicitly, and x2 equals x20 e to the power bt, right? So from these two, what you will find is dx1 by or dx2 by dt, and that I guess would be equal to, sorry, dx2 by dx1. So this is x versus y, so it will be dx2 by dx1. So that would be equal to x20 by x10 b by a e to the power b minus a times t. I think this is going to be the solution. So now when b is greater than a, when b is greater than a, b is greater than a, slope will be positive. Or slope will tend to slope. I don't say slope will be positive. dx2 by dt will tend to 0. Sorry, tend to infinity. B is greater than a, and b less than a, d, it's not dt, sorry, everywhere it has to be dx2 dx1, dx2 by dx1 will tend to 0, right? So now in this case you see, yes,
So it should be magnitude of B greater than A because the
yes,
values
yes,
are negative.
magnitude, yeah, magnitude, true, magnitude. Okay, so in one case this is tending to infinity, the slope is tending to infinity. Here the slope tends to infinity. Here the slope tends to be 0. So depending upon the value of the magnitude of x of a1 of a and b, you will decide whether you will get the first portrait or the second portrait, right? And similarly for the third case, case 3, a is greater than 0, b is greater than 0, which means every sign will become exactly opposite. Everything will remain exactly the same. You are diverging. Again, I encourage you to do this analysis and see that when both the eigenvalues are positive, the system will diverge. So the system will start from 0, 0 and system will blow up to an infinite value as the time increases to infinity, right? So this was the case. This was the case for one specific um, matrix, which was A00B. And now let us compare this against our first order system. Does it look any different from the first order system? Well, no, it's exactly the same. What happened in our first order system? When A was greater than 0, your system diverged. When A was less than 0, your system converged. In a And everything happened monotonically. So you get an asymptote at t tends to infinity with x-axis as the solution, and with x-axis as the solution for at t tends to minus infinity, you start from there and your system monotonically blows up to infinity. This is what happened in first order systems. Exactly same case happens here also when your eigenvalues are either positive or negative or their combination. Whenever eigenvalues are positive, your system blows up, in this case, or in this case in green. Whenever your eigenvalues are negative, the system asymptotically reaches to the stable 0, 0 solution, right? But this was one specific case. And in this particular case, there was no difference in the behavior of a first order system or a nth order system. But nth order systems are dangerous in general because of the reason we will see now. Imagine that a we have a, so this is case 2. Imagine that we have case where a is 0 minus plus a minus a and 0. Okay, 0, a minus a and 0. What will happen in this case? The eigenvalue, one of the eigenvalues in this case, so I'm again assuming that you know how to solve for eigenvalues and eigenvectors, so we are not wasting our time here on that. So one of the eigenvalues is IA, imaginary eigenvalue. Okay, imaginary eigenvalue. And the corresponding eigenvector is 1I transpose. I emphasize that I expect you to know this, how to solve this. Okay, but this is not a math class anyway. So therefore the solution would be x1 x2, which is equal to e to the power ia 1 I, right? E to the power ia, sorry, iat, e to the power iat 1 I. This is going to be the solution, but we don't like to express anything in terms of e to the power I and so on. So I will make use of the fact that e to the power iat is cos at plus I sine at, right? From where I will get this solution as x1 x2 equals cos at plus I sine 80, and this will become minus sine 80 plus I cos 80. I hope this is how it would look like. If there is any sign mistake, please feel free to point out. Which means this is equal to cos 80 minus sine 80. Okay, cos 80 minus sine 80 plus I times sine 80 cos 80. Sine 80 cos 80. Right? Now, what is interesting is that, so this is the real part and this is imaginary part times I times the imaginary part. Okay, and I am writing here again without proof. It's very easy. You can substitute and find out that RE, the real part, and imaginary part are individually the solutions. Okay, so cos 80 minus 80 is a solution to the system, and sine 80 cos 80 is again the solution to the system, which means I can write here x1 x2 equals c1 times cos 80 minus sine 80 plus c2 times sine 80 cos 80. Right? Or I can further write this as c1 cos 80 plus c2 sine 80 and minus c1 sine 80 plus c2 cos 80. Okay, this is the solution. Now I need to draw the phase portrait. I need to draw a phase portrait of x1 x2. Looks a little bit complex. Okay, so let's try to plot this using a standard plotter. So the way I will plot this is this. So what was our equations? Sine, let's keep it simple, sine t plus, so cos t plus sine t, so plus cos t and cos t minus sine t, cos t minus sine t. Okay, and t, let us make it complete 2 pi 6.28. So this is how it looks like, right? So this is the phase portrait. So the phase portrait is circular. So let me make it a little more complex. Here it will be c1 sine t, c2 cos t. Let me see if I am writing it as a cos. So it would be interchanged. So this will be c1 cos t and c2 sin t. Again, what you see here is this only changes the magnitude. This only changes the magnitude, right? But the nature remains the same. Okay. One interesting thing which you will see is this: as you change the sign, the behavior doesn't change. The behavior doesn't change. So, and I can also do one thing here. I will make it bt, 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 bt. And let me try to change bt. Well, nothing changes. Yes, but one thing changes in fact. So let me make b in a very small point, minus 0.1, 0.1 to 0.1. Okay. And let me make it 60. Okay. So what happens as I change this? about 0.0. See here. So let me animate it. The circular region remains the same, but one on negative it is anti-clockwise, for positive it is clockwise, right? For negative it is anti-clockwise, for positive it is clockwise. So what do we learn about the phase portrait here? So let me draw the phase portrait and let's see what we learn about phase portrait. What we learn about phase portrait is something like this. That the phase portraits look like, so this is x1, x2. See, this is not in time. This is x1, x2. Okay, they look like this, but for a greater than 0, you will have one sign. For a one rotation, for a less than 0, you will have another rotation. Okay. This means, and what is the physical significance of this? The physical significance is that the moment you have imaginary eigenvalues, and this can pretty much happen even in real systems, there is no reason for this to not happen in real systems, that whenever you have imaginary eigenvalues, your system shows oscillations which are periodic in nature. See, the value of x2 with time keeps on repeating. The value of x1 with time keeps on repeating. The combination of x2 and x1 with time keeps on repeating. So you will have the solutions which will not decay to 0. You will have solutions which will not rise to infinity, but they will keep on oscillating about the same value. And such solutions are called center solutions. Okay, such solutions are called center solutions. So center solution, and can you ever expect this in case of first order systems, the oscillatory behavior? The answer is no. First order systems will always exhibit monotonous behavior. They will decay to 0 or to equilibrium solutions. They will rise from equilibrium solutions and blow to infinity, but this will never happen in an oscillatory manner. Whereas when you have a purely imaginary value, what's going to happen is that your system will show oscillations, which means that your values will keep on repeating. They will neither converge nor they will diverge. And such solutions are called center solutions. And we take the final case for today, where and this is perhaps the most interesting case of all, where you have your A, which looks like this. So when you have A, which looks like A B minus BA, AB minus BA. Okay, so in the previous case it was B minus B and you had AA here, 0 0 here. Now you have A B minus B A. Okay, so if this is the case, then what's going to happen? Well, you will find out you will repeat the same procedure how you did. The eigenvalues, one of the eigenvalues is lambda is equal to A plus IB. Okay, the eigenvector remains same, which is 1I. Right? So we'll repeat the entire procedure the way you did here. Well, the procedure is very simple. You simply will have the solution instead of. So what will happen? Let me point out the differences. This will become e to the power A plus IB times T, 1I. Right? Which means e to the power AT, and then this whole portion will be exactly the same here, e to the power IBT 1I. Right? So what will happen to your solution? Well, your solution will just have one factor here. Your solution will have one factor here, e to the power. So in this case, b will come here, b will come here, and your solution will have e to the power 80, e to the power 80, right? Now we need to take two cases, when a is greater than 0, when a is less than 0, right? When a was equal to 0, you had a circular or a center solution, right? A greater than 0, you had center solution. The wave just propagated without changing its amplitude, without changing its time period. You just get periodic solutions perfectly in time. But now this solution, this portion will be augmented by e to the power 80, and a can be greater than 0, a can be less than 0. So let us see. Let me see if I can do it here. E to the power, we have already used b here, so I will write ct and e to the power ct. And what happened? So first of all, it should recognize this format correctly. So first let us make it simpler so that it doesn't mess up the format. B, B, B. So the only thing which we have is C here. Okay, so let us increase this still further. Does anything happen? No. Yeah, this is what is happening. Correct, we were correct. So let me change the value of C in a small value from minus 0.1 to 0.1. Right? Now let's see what's happening. Let me play this. See what happens. So let me stop it momentarily. You see what happens. You were supposed to start from here and you were supposed to go in circles. But now when C is less than 0, you are converging to the value 0 here. You see it. You are converging to a value which is 0 here. And conversely, when C is greater than 0, see, you are moving away. You are moving away. So let me animate it for a couple of seconds so that you will be able to appreciate what's going on. When C is less than 0, you are converging to 0. When C is greater than 0, you are blowing away from 0, right? So let me draw this, and then you can put A, B, C, all these conditions, which will just change your magnitudes. They are not going to affect the solution. So now what is going to happen? Let me draw here itself. When A is less than 0, you start from here, but e to the power 80 is augmenting your solution. So you are going to come here like this, right? I can make it a little more drastic so that you can see it properly. So this is what is going to happen. This is the direction of arrow. A is less than 0. When A is greater than 0, what's going to happen is you are going to move away away and away from this. A is equal to 0, you have perfect circle. So this is for A equal to 0. So for A is equal to 0, you have center solution. A is less than 0, it's called spiral sink. You can understand why does this happen. When A is less than 0, this is called spiral source solution. Okay. This means what? What is the significance, physical significance of spiral sink and spiral source solution? When you have spiral sink solution, your system starts oscillating, but the magnitudes of oscillation, so let me draw, the magnitudes of oscillation keeps on reducing. The magnitude keeps on reducing, and therefore you will eventually settle down to the equilibrium solution. Whereas if you have a spiral source solution, what's going to happen is your magnitude will keep on blowing up, and this is the real dangerous situation. Okay, we will take this particular oscillation example, and we will also see a video in the next lecture when we'll take the example of a specific second order system. So this is where the analysis of dynamics of higher order systems becomes important. So let us make before we stop for a small break and move to the question, let us make ourselves very clear. The first order systems always are monotonous, they decay to zero or equilibrium solutions, or they blow away. Whereas higher order systems, you can have oscillations in the system. The oscillations can decay, or the oscillations can blow up, or they can sustain. If there are oscillations, they are because the eigenvalues are imaginary. If you have an imaginary eigenvalue, be ready for oscillations. Now, whether the oscillations will die out or they will remain constant or they will blow up, that depends whether your eigenvalue is a complex number or a purely imaginary number. If your eigenvalue is a pure imaginary number, the oscillations will sustain without change in magnitude. If your eigenvalue is a complex number such that the real part is greater than 0, the system will blow up. If your eigenvalue is a complex number such that the real part is less than 0, it's negative, the oscillations will eventually die down. This is the gist. So we'll take a 5 minutes break and we'll resume. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, you can also take a break. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes.
Can we do row operations and column operations to get this particular type of matrices, sir? Coefficient matrices.
I didn't understand. Can you please repeat?
Let's say initially we have a different
Okay, I got
coefficient
your point. I got your point.
uh,
What you are trying to ask is that if your matrix is not in this form, right? Can you can you do an operation to bring the matrices in this form? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah. You don't do row or column operations. The operation is called similarity transformation. So if you do similarity transformation, your matrix will change to this particular form, and therefore the solutions will also change to this particular form. Yes, that is possible. I encourage you to look into similarity transformation to do this.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay, so let's start. Can anybody please confirm if you can see and hear everything?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's take today's problem. Save it and a new page. Fine. So today's problem is a problem which you must have come across in reaction engineering course, and I'm sure you must also have solved this problem. Uh, the reason to take this particular problem is that this is a third order system, and you will see how simply you used to solve the problem, but how complicated in general the reality is. Okay, and in fact, there are certain wrong concepts also which have been conveyed in a lot of books, which we will try to correct today. Okay, using the concepts of dynamics. So consider a system of elementary reactions in series of the type A going to B going to C. Okay, I'm sure we have all come across in chemical engineering. Instrumentation students, don't worry about the terms. Elementary reactions in series of the type. Series means one reactant A is going to B, and B is again converting to C. So this is the meaning of series reaction. The kinetics of the system is given by the following equations. I'm already giving you the model equations. You don't need to derive. I expect chemical engineering students to be able to derive these these equations. The reactions are carried out in a batch reactor. Batch reactor means it's a vessel in which you dump all of your reactants, you close the vessel, and then let the reaction happen for certain amount of time. That's called the batch time. And when that particular time is over, you stop the reactor, take the reactants and the products out. So this is how batch reaction is carried out with the respective initial concentrations as Ca0, Cb0, Cc0 respectively. Okay, fine. So by sequentially solving the above three equations, determine the expressions for time evolutions of Ca, Cb, Cc, and determine the concentrations of the species at time t tends to infinity. Well, this should be not very difficult. D. So reactions in series. So you have A going to B going to C. The rate of conversion of A is dCA by dt. This is equal to minus K1. So we'll write K1 here, we'll write K2 here. K1 CA dCB by dt equals K1 CA minus K2 CB dCC by dt equals K2 CB. So for instrumentation students, your the way to do this is simply whenever you have consumption, A is converting to B, you put a negative sign. Since this is an elementary reaction, there is no power. In general, it is Ca to the power n. For an elementary reaction, power is simply 1. So this is how you write the balance equation. So now it's said that by sequentially solving this, determine the time evolution. I am leaving this as an exercise to you. I'm just telling you how to do this. First equation can be solved very trivially. You know that Ca will be equal to Ca0 e to the power minus K1t. Okay. So, and this equation in fact is nothing but dx by dt equals ax, right? So we know the detailed phase portrait of this particular system very well. So if B and C were not present, the system would be just a first order system, and you know what will happen to the concentration of the species as time t tends to infinity. We already know this. Now the problem is that due to the presence of B and C, the system has become a third order system. Fine. So what do I mean by sequentially solving? We know that this is the equation, so I can write dCB by dt plus K2 CB equals K1, CA is CA0 e to the power K1t. And therefore this is equation this is the equation of the form dx by dt plus f of x equals g of t. This is how I like to see it, and this can be solved very easily using integrating factor method, right? And similarly you will solve the third equation by substituting this the expression for CB which you get from the second equation, and you analyze the dynamics of this one, do it for test all the cases, do it for CB and do it for CC. This is something which you would do traditionally anyway in reaction engineering, and this is something not very fun to do anyway. It is very routine exercise. So I am leaving this. What we want to do is this. Part B, convert the above system of equations to a matrix equation and solve for concentrations. Okay, check if the solutions match the ones obtained for part A. This is what we will leave after for you to check after you get the solution for part A. So convert the above system of equations to matrix equation. Fine. So how do we do this? Where did it go? So the matrix equation corresponding to this set of equations would be d by dt of C1, no, not C1, CA, CA, CB, CC equals minus K1, 0, 0, K1 minus K2, 0, 0, K2, 0 times CA, CB, CC. Right? This is the matrix equation. And what is the solution to this matrix equation? The solution to this matrix equation is Ci times e to the power lambda t times the eigenvector, which means I need to determine the eigenvalues and eigenvectors for this A. Okay, for a 3x3 system. So I don't want to waste time here. What I will do is we will make use of Wolfram Alpha. Wolfram Alpha is an online engine for running Mathematica, which will give you the symbol, which will allow you to do symbolic mathematics, which means that you put your mathematical symbols and it would solve analytically and give you the answer. So let's try to get that. Eigenvalues. So this is the syntax. So let us change this. It was minus K1 0, 0. Then it was K1 minus K2 0, and finally what was it? 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so I'll put this. Let's see if the matrix is correct the way it has interpreted it.
Sir,
It is
0 K2 0, sir.
no, it is was our matrix. It is K1.
So the
Correct.
last
Sir,
line
last
is
one
0
Okay,
0
fine.
K2 0.
It is 0 K2 0. Good. So 0 K2 0. Let's see. So is the matrix correct? Minus K1 0 0 K1 minus K2 0 and 0 K2 0. Yes. So let us write down the eigenvalues. The eigenvalues are 0 minus K1 and minus K2. So lambda 1 is 0, lambda 2 is minus K1, Lambda 3 is minus K2. Okay. And what are the corresponding eigenvectors? V1, let's see, V2, V3. 0, 0, 1. So 0, 0, 1 transpose. The final one was 0, minus 1, 1. 0, minus 1, 1 transpose. And the third one is, the second one is little complicated. K1 minus K2 upon K2. K1 minus K2 upon K2 minus K1 by K2 minus K1 by K2 and finally 1. No, this one's fine. These are elements. Fine. So now what will be the solution to my set of equations? The solution would look something like this. C1, CA, CB, CC is equal to C1 times e to the power 0t, which is 1, 0, 0, 1, plus C2 e to the power minus k1t times k1 minus k2 upon k2 minus k1 upon k2, 1, plus C3 e to the power minus k3t times 0 minus 1, 1. This is the solution, right? And let me put it little more elegantly. CA will be equal to this to become 0, C2 K1 minus K2 upon K2 e to the power minus K1t, right? This is the expression for CA. CB is 0, so this will become C2 K1 minus K2 upon K2 e to the power minus K1t plus, in fact minus, but it can be as well plus because C3 can become negative. So that is not very crucial. C3 e to the power minus, this is K2, so K2t, right? And CC is C1 plus C2 e to the power minus K1t plus C3 e to the power minus K2t.
Sir, CB first term would be minus K1 by K2, C2 e to the power minus K1t.
Which one? This one?
CB first term, sir. Yes.
Why? What is the problem?
Minus K1 by K2.
Okay. This is this one.
Yes,
I got it. So C2 minus K1 by K2, right? E to the power minus K1t. Is it correct now?
yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. So these are the solutions. Okay, so you had the choice of sequentially solving, which I believe you used to do in your reaction engineering courses. Now you solve this using this dynamics approach. What we are interested in looking at, especially in this particular course, is that how do these dynamical variables, and my dynamical variable is this vector CACBCC, change with time, right? And what are the effects of different parameters? You see here, we wrote here as the solution CA0 e to the power minus K1t, right? And this is precisely what you got. This one, as a mathematical problem, for every possible value of K1, K2, CA will evolve, right? But physically only those will be accessible which is equal to this, right? But here the evolution part is e to the power minus k1t, and here also the evolution part was e to the power minus k1t, right? So then we are getting the same result basically in a little differently arranged manner, right? So we are now interested in looking at the dynamics of CB, right? So CB is basically minus k1 by k2 e to the power minus k1t plus e to the power minus k2t, right? I have removed okay, anyway, let us do that. That should not be a problem. C2 C3, okay, and let us try to look into the dynamics of CB specifically. So let's go here and I will make it from simple to complex so that the system doesn't have problem understanding the notation. Equals A into e to the power minus k1 to the power minus k1 x plus b e to the power minus k2 x. Okay, and let me also write here g of x is e to the power minus k1x. Okay, so this function gives you how A would decay with time, and since k is always positive, the rate constant is always positive, you know how the value will decay with time. See here. So let us set k as a positive value 0.1 to 1, right? So what you see is doesn't matter what your how your system what is the value of your rate constant. You're just focus on this particular plot. The concentration of A will always reduce with time. Okay, the concentration of A will always reduce with time, and you see that it tends to become 0. Okay, so the concentration of A, so let me write down here, following this, Ca tends to 0 as T tends to infinity, right? Now what about the dynamic? And it was not very interesting, we already knew this. What we are interested in is the dynamics of CB, and now let us try to change the parameters. So here A is basically what is the initial value of your initial concentration of your CB. Okay, but as I change the value of this K, and let us set the value here also as positive 0.1 to 100. You see here, this also goes down. Two things have to be looked into properly. What is the ultimate behavior? The ultimate behavior of CB also is to go down to 0. See here. So I can write here from here CB tends to 0 as T tends to infinity always. Okay, irrespective of what your magnitudes are. Now we can make this expression a little more complex so as to capture the correct trend. So this is K1 minus, so this one has to be multiplied by K1 minus K2. Sorry, minus K1 by K2. So A multiplied by minus K1 divided by K2. Okay, and let's see if we get any change. The negative ones we are not considering because the concentration cannot be negative. And this only shifts it. This again doesn't change anything. Okay, this also doesn't change anything. So have we incorporated everything fully? C2, that is fine. Minus K1 by K2 e to the power this thing, this. So this is the correct, this is the complete expression. Okay. You see. As the value becomes very low, the dynamics changes. And then what you will see is you can have a particular combination of K1 and K2. You can have a particular combination of K1 and K2. So currently what you are looking at is a situation like this. So this is CA or CB or CC. This is time. You will see that CA always reduces. In this particular case, you have seen that CB reduces with time. But you can as well find a combination, and that is what you will see in the books of reaction engineering, where CB goes through maxima. This is also possible. Okay, that combination is to be obtained by tweaking around these parameters. Okay, when you have a suitable combination of these parameters, you will in fact see that B rises and then again falls down. But what you will ultimately see is that CB, so CA tends to 0, CB also tends to 0. Okay, and similarly you can find the behavior of CC and you will find that CC increases with time. Okay, so what I'm leaving as an exercise for you to do is to feed these equations here in this desmos.com/calculator and find out what are the parameters in for which you will see a rise like this, and what are the parameters for which you will find a fall like this. Okay, so this is what you need to do. So check if the solutions match. Fine. Determine the equilibrium solutions. Fine. So now the question is how to determine the equilibrium solutions. So equilibrium solutions. Equilibrium solutions. So equilibrium solutions lie in the null space of A, which means they satisfy Ax equal to 0. Right? So how will you determine the solutions to Ax is equal to 0? Well, our matrix was minus K1, 0, 0, K1, minus K2, 0, 0, K2, 0. Okay. And what you will do is you will do elementary row operations. This will be minus K1, 0, 0, K1. I will add these two. So this will become 0. No, this will remain as it is. Minus K2, 0. The third one will become 0. And I will further change this to minus K1, 0, 0. This will become 0, minus K2, 0, 0, 0, 0. So I have row reduced my matrix. Okay. So what was, if you remember the way we solved for null space, what was the next step? The next step was convert the matrix to equations. Okay, which means minus K1 CA equal to 0 and minus K2 CB equal to 0, which means CA equilibrium is 0, CB equilibrium is 0. Did we not see this? Yes. Whatever you do, you will see that the system always, CA and CB always tend to become 0 as t tends to infinity. What about CC? Okay, so the answer to that is there is no constraint for CC. Okay, and why does this happen? Okay, before we do this, let us try to understand what's going on. Okay, so you have a system. You have a system in which A is going to B, which is going to C. And by solving AX is equal to 0, what you found is that CA is equal to 0 is the equilibrium solution. CB equal to 0 is an equilibrium solution, which means as time progresses, doesn't matter what amount of CA which you take in your system or what amount of CB that you take in your system, doesn't matter what CA0 and CB0 are, they will eventually go to 0. Right? But what about CC? CC comes from the conservation of mass equation. Okay, so A is getting converted to B, B is getting converted to C. So therefore, you can do a simple mass balance, and that's what basically is the meaning that there is no constraint on C, that whatever amount of C you get is dependent upon the amount of C that you have in the system, the amount of A you have in the system, and the amount of B you have in the system initially. Okay, so from this particular analysis, what you get is that the ultimate amount of A as time t tends to infinity will be 0. The ultimate amount of B as time t tends to infinity will be 0, and C will be the amount which you get from CA0 and CB0. Okay, so this is the solution for equilibrium solution. So determine the equilibrium solutions. We got it, CA equal to CB equal to 0. Check if they match the answers from part A. Yes, they match the answers from part A. Okay, fine. Then comment on the stability of the solutions and analyze the comment in reference to the magnitudes and signs of KIs. So how do you comment upon the stability? Stability is governed by the eigen values, right? Which in the current system are -1, -k1, -k2, and 0, right? So we can go to these, all of these. You see, whenever eigenvalues were negative, the system was stable. The eigenvalue was positive, the system was unstable. In our physical case, the eigenvalues are k1, k2, 0. Now, physically, k1 is always greater than 0. Rate constants are always positive. K2 is always greater than 0, right? Which means lambda 1 is less than 0, lambda 2 is less than 0. Fine. Or at least none of the eigenvalues are positive, but the problem is lambda 3 is equal to 0. And what is the meaning of this? What is the meaning that a particular eigenvalue is 0? And this is the most beautiful illustration of the physical example that you see here. In this particular case, you have a third order system and you get one of the eigenvalues is 0. What is the meaning of eigenvalue to be 0? We see here in this particular case, CA tends to 0, CB tends to 0, and CC tends to a finite value, which means that the system doesn't blow up, which means that the system is stable. At least from here, you can say that the system is stable. What is the meaning of this? This simply means that if you are operating a batch reactor and you are dumping in some amount of reactants, A, B, or C, it doesn't matter in what amount you do it, your system is never going to blow up. Your system is never going to blow up because of the concentrations. This is important when, well, you see, your system is also coupled through temperature, and if you have an exothermic reaction, the temperature may increase, and the temperature increase in temperature may blow up the system. So you're not modeling your system well. That's a different problem. But your concentrations are not going to blow up to infinity. That's a good sign. But what is the meaning of this eigenvalue 0? So let's see what is the meaning of significance of eigenvalue. So negative eigenvalue means system squeezes, right? Everything is squeezing to a particular value. Positive eigenvalue means the system expands. It blows up as time tends to infinity. Zero eigenvalue means the system is rigid. Okay, so mathematically it means rigid. What is the meaning of this particular statement when you say that the system is rigid in this particular reaction system? Okay, well, the rigidity is very apparent from the concentration of Cc. Okay, what's going to happen? Let us draw the time evolution of concentration. So this is Ca, Cb, Cc versus time, and A will always reduce with time. B can increase with time and fall down, or it may fall down directly depending upon the parameters that you choose. But what about C? C will rise to a value and then it will become constant. Why will it become constant? It will become constant because A is getting converted to B, so the concentration of A is going down. B is converting to C, so the concentration of B is going down. What about C? The concentration of C will increase. But when there is no A and B, then what will happen? What will happen to the concentration of C? See, it will just continue. The C will lie there. The concentration of C is not going to change. But is it the same phenomenon as when you see negative eigenvalues? So in this case, the eigenvalues are negative, right? Negative eigenvalues. So they are coming down here asymptotically. Okay, so Ca tends to 0 as T tends to infinity, and that's why when you study reaction engineering in a lot of Viva where you are asked conceptual questions, you are asked this question, that how much time does a first order reaction take to complete? The answer is infinity, because the concentration goes down to 0 only as time tends to infinity, which means it goes down to 0 in which manner? As an asymptote, in asymptotic manner. Okay, but what about C? See, C becomes equal to C final, exactly equal to C final, and then it remains. It remains there, right? Small changes come from Ca and Cb, obviously, because Ca, Cb are asymptotic. Cc obviously also be asymptotic, but there is no dynamics for Cc which is going on here in this region, and that is what is indicated by the eigenvalue 0. 0. That the system has rigidity. It is neither squeezing, neither converging, nor is it blowing away. Okay, so this is the significance of CC. And the system is inherently stable. Fine. So part D. Part E is something which you have to do. All of these questions of dynamics which we'll take up in this course, they cannot be solved in the class with an answer. You have to play around with parameters to see and appreciate how the dynamics changes and what goes on, what are the possibilities. So you feed in the value of K1 as 2, K2 as 1, choose some initial concentrations and find out the differences. Okay, so for each of the cases analyzed in part D, determine the monotonicity of the solutions and compare it against the graphical visualization. What do you learn about concentration of B? This is what we saw here. Okay, that concentration of B can in fact increase and come down, or it can come down directly. Okay, so you need to adjust these parameters, these initial values, and then analyze the solution. Fine. Determine the effect of initial conditions on the solution of all the cases discussed in part D. And this is what I was pointing out too. There is a misconception which is there in a lot of reaction engineering books, which say that the differentiation between this case 1, where CB just comes down, and this case 2, where it goes through a maxima, it depends only upon K1 and K2. This is not correct. Okay, it does not simply depend upon K1 and therefore when you appear on Vivas in a lot of places, generally the faculty have a favorite question that they will give you A going to B going to C, A going to B, A going to C, A going to B going to C, C is going to D, D is going to F, and so on, and they will ask you to draw the evolution. And generally we analyze this case from the point of view of K1 versus K2. When K1 is very greater than K2, then it would come down. When K1 is less than K2, then it would go up. This is not entirely true. It depends upon the initial concentration as well. And why does it depend upon the initial concentration? For a simple fact that DCB by dt equals K1 Ca minus K2 Cb, and when it becomes maxima, this becomes 0, which means it not only depends upon K1 and K2, it also depends upon Ca and Cb. Okay, in the cases which you have seen in textbooks like Levenspiel, they are always true because they assume that Cb is 0. In all the textbooks, you will see Ca0 is some value, Cb0 is 0, and Cc0 is 0. In that case, you will always get what Levenspiel tells you. But when these are not equal to 0, you do not have any guarantee that it would have maxima or it will not have maxima. You will have to tweak around the parameters. It's a three-dimensional, it's a third order parameter, is a third order system. So there are a lot of parameters which have to be tweaked around, and your solution will depend upon the magnitudes of those parameters. That is something which I would like you to run in this Desmos/calculator and find out the conditions. Sketch the phase portrait. Well, this is not going to be possible. But this is something very interesting. Let's see why it is not going to be possible and why it is very interesting. The phase portrait will be a three-dimensional diagram. Okay, so line. So you will have one axis, you'll have second axis, you will have third axis. So phase portrait will have Ca, Cb, Cc. Right? And now you will need to draw the curves in this. And for that, you know that this entire line is a solution. So you always point out an equilibrium solution. So what you do is determine the equilibrium solution, and this entire line is an equilibrium solution. Because there is no constraint on Cc, and Ca is equal to 0, Cb is equal to 0 is an equilibrium solution. Then you will find three eigenvectors. Let's say the three eigenvectors are these. I don't really know, you will have to go here, find out, write the values of eigenvectors from here. Okay, 0, 0, 1, 0, -1 is simple, but this k1, k2, the third eigenvector depends upon the values of k1 and k2. So let's see if, let's say if these three are eigenvectors, so then what will happen? You will have these straight line solutions. For these eigenvectors. And then what you would do, you will need to then fill in, these places. These places, these places, these places, and so on. Practically it's not possible, but the idea is that you should know that a phase portrait something like this exists, and this is the theoretical method to find a phase portrait, and you can find all sorts of combinations, and those combinations will be the ones which will all lie on this particular graph. Okay, so this is how the phase portrait would look like. So this was about the second and third or higher order systems. We'll take a even more interesting example of a second order system in the next class. So we are done for today. If you have any doubts or questions for today's class, please feel free to ask.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, can you please re-explain the part where you said the significance of eigenvalue that's 0?
Okay, yes. Fine. So where did we go? Okay, fine. So let us, we will take an example from first order system, and it is applicable for all the orders, right? So it's easy to understand the first order system. So let's try to understand. We have dx by dt equals ax, right? So when a was greater than 0, your solution used to go to infinity, right? When a is less than 0, your solution will come down to 0, right? Which means that your system dynamics is squeezing to a particular value, converging to a particular value when the eigenvalue is 0, is less than 0. It is blowing up to a large value when your eigenvalue is greater than 0. But what happens for a is equal to 0, which means dx by dt is equal to 0. Well, you just get this solution, right? Which means nothing is changing with time. Okay, which means that if you take, it is like this. If I take a pocket here versus a pocket here, as I'm moving here, I'm coming closer and closer to 0. Similarly, if I take a pocket here versus a pocket here will have a value which is much closer to infinity, which means the system is expanding, right? But if I take two pockets here and here, there is nothing which is changing. Not only that the value is not changing, the tendency to come closer or away, going away from the value is also not changing. The system is rigid. Okay, so that is what zero eigenvalue tells me. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good. Anything else? Okay, if not, then we meet again in the next week. Thank you.